I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Solving life's mysteries one at a time.
I'm sure I've made plenty of them. And
if this isn't the most disappointing loss, is it maybe the strangest feeling you've ever had after a loss?
Definitely. It's definitely a weird feeling. It just.
This is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3.
Happy Wednesday. Hey, today's Wednesday. How about it? It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. Hopefully your Wednesday is a good one, and if not, maybe we can pick it up for you. Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, making a bold statement, taking a stand, is Kyler Brown in his Micah Parsons jersey. They will not be screwed on this deal. They will get their worth, and they will stretch this out even farther.
Why did I know you were going to wait till we went on air to
Why
bring
did I
it
know
up
you were
to
going to
me?
wait 45 whole seconds?
I was like
firing.
Last name seeking missile when he walked in on the back of his shirt.
Well, I was just standing there. He was
So,
like inhaling this thing, and it was like yogurt and wholesome, but I thought it was like ice cream. I was like, hey, what do you got there, Micah Parsons?
To be fair,
We will get a league-high amount of yogurt and oats.
When I grabbed my shirt this morning, I did not realize this was my Micah jersey, if I'm being totally honest. But if I am taking sides, I as much as it pains me, I will take Micah's side just because the way the Joneses have been handling everything is kind of frustrating me.
So what you're saying is Kyler's got a problem with another DFW sports team management? Is that it?
I've had that.
Dude,
Dang it, Gus.
I'm about to make it worse for you.
Wow.
Has there been a major market sports city with more anger across the board with their professional sports teams than DFW? I mean, trading marquee player from the Mavs is enough. I think Jerry Jones, the way that he riles up fans, is enough. But then you add in, now it's looking better, but up to this point, like the Rangers had just found ways to lose in frustrating ways. Again, has started off well in the back half break. But if you're just finding something with all four, and then you go to the Stars, like, well, they've been good, right? They've been making playoff runs. Like, well, they just
fired their coach.
And so if those are the best two examples that you found ways to lose in frustrating ways and you fired your coach, those are the two good ones? That's been a rough year for DFW fans, man.
That's right. And you guys keep your chin up over there.
Keep plugging along, Kyler.
No promises.
Keep buying jerseys.
Keep grinding.
Yeah.
That's our we're pro labor here, right?
Yes.
We're on the side of the player.
Generally, yeah. For the most part,
Sure.
like 95% of the time. And I'm only saying that because I'm trying to think of the 5% where I wasn't. We are live from the First United Bank studio, taking stands here. We'll go to 6:30 on Double T 97.3. Rangers and Athletics going again. Speaking of those Rangers, who just mentioned have looked better, they went ahead and won the series last night, Gus, against the Athletics 6-2. 3 home runs, 3 different guys. One of those that started a rally was Josh Young, who got a hit, and then Corey Seager helped knock him in on a 3-run shot. Marcus Semien home run, Adolis Garcia home run. Jacob DeGrom on the mound, very good once again. They can sweep the artist formerly known as Athletic, or Oakland. Yeah. Speaking of sports cities, Las Vegas will have an interesting little run of sports teams here when they get everybody there. I wonder how long it is. Well, because you'll have the Las Vegas Raiders, right? You'll have the Las Vegas Golden Knights. So then you'll have 2.
Got the Aces.
And then and then when the Athletics get there, then of like your major 4, you'll have 3 of them.
I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought they were going for something beyond that.
No.
That there was a new
I just
development.
it's hard for
or
me.
you were going for the big punchline.
I think
zinger.
you no
Clint Scott zinger right there.
Another zinger. Another gotcha moment. Gotcha, Las Vegas. Didn't see it coming. No, like I have in my mind, there has to be 3 of the 4
Yeah.
to be in that conversation. And I root for an area that only has 2.
And you know what? I mean, and I still refer to the sort of big 4 like that as well. Mm-hmm. But I'm also perfectly fine adding MLS in as a 5, because and really the WNBA stuff jumping in there, like that's those really are the markers now. Like those six pro sports are really the markers of. Maybe what you're saying about it gives you a sense of scale, right? A place, L.A., Chicago, New York, they're going to have all 6 of them, right?
Well, for me, I guess so. I'm like not enough to die on the hill against MLS, but like when you're looking at the leagues, are they the top league in their sport? In the MLS, and so that's where like the MLS isn't. I think that there are some very comparable European women's basketball leagues to the WNBA, or at least has been.
Could you name them?
No.
Okay.
No, but you have a lot of these same players going and doing what?
Caitlin Clark just go to the Turkey League?
No, but what do they do when they're not playing in the WNBA? A lot of them go play where? Some of those other leagues.
Well, they dang sure did until.
And so maybe that's probably about to change
recently.
if you're being fair, but
right.
So that's why that's the only reason I still go Big 4. But I'm not, again, going to die on a hill if someone says Big 6 or Big 5 or whatever.
Speaking of Brittany Griner, I was standing.
That's one of Kyler's favorite jerseys.
Standing there with my family, and Megan Maroney's on stage, and here's the concert. And I got like a tall young lady standing in front of me. She wasn't Brittany Griner height, but I did turn to my wife and daughter, who, your classmate. And I was like, I had a couple drinks, so he wasn't probably as clean as this, but I was like, why the bleep did I get stuck behind Brittany Griner right here? Like, all of these wee little girls around here, and I get.
And then she turned around and punched you right in the face.
I get like Harry Clint Scott lady. No, that's not true.
Oh, wow. Never mind. I'm just going to stay away from it. It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3. Presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. You can join us on the Yates Flooring Center chat line, thoughts, comments, questions, all of that welcome there. You can also call us on the Visual Edge IT hotline, 806-771-0973. Gus, we are rounding out all of the major conferences' media days. We're in the thick of Big Ten media days. I think the ACC's either just wrapped up or is in the middle of it as well. Either way, we're getting some ACC quotes too. A program who was immediately down after a great year, immediately down last year, was the Florida State Seminoles. The proud tradition of Florida State. You remember what their record was last year?
Wasn't it 1?
Go one higher.
2-10?
2-10.
It was like
they had wins over California that was 14-9 and Charlotte, something called Charleston Southern.
That's and that's off of the Great Snub, if you will.
Mm-hmm. The Great Snub.
But I mean,
you're right.
That
no,
was the headline.
I
Yes.
stand by that. It was, but
My goodness.
One season doesn't affect the other. But man, if you were looking for a good follow up of like they're going to prove it this year, a different team, different quarterback. That was the DJ Uiagalelei year over at Florida State, and that was just
that's right.
an outright disaster.
Yeah, disaster is the right word. I mean, shocking.
Yeah,
Shocking that it could get that it. I mean, obviously you have a special roster and everything's lined up and a fearsome front four and whatnot, but to go from 12-0 to 2-10 isn't that right? When it 12-0 or 11-1, whatever it was. The bonkers good year, and they're basically fifth in a 4-team tournament, right?
right.
Mercy.
Let's see that. I thought they were undefeated. Though.
I know. I was thinking so too.
I went right back to the 2024 year. Yeah, that's right. They were 13-0. They still won against Louisville in that
that's right.
ACC
Conference
championship
tournament,
game,
yes.
and then and then showed up to the Orange Bowl angry, and then got waxed by Georgia, who was also not happy to be there.
But also remember that most of those draft dudes that were locked and loaded. We're all like, we're not playing this game. I mean, and so they were massively depleted. And obviously, Clint, maybe giving us a little forecast of 2024. We just didn't know it at the time.
Oh, goodness gracious.
You talk about letting the air out of a tire. Woof.
Well, they have a new signal caller, and it's Thomas Castellanos, and I believe I have that right. He was at Boston College last year, including a very exciting game against Florida State, and was just fine. Threw for 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Not this just, I don't know, big-time recruit coming in or anything like that. However, he has done something very interesting. Have you seen him poking the bear, if you will, of Alabama? That's week one for them.
I knew that it was week one. I haven't seen him poking of the bear, though.
He had told Pete Nakos, and again, this is a total be careful what you wish for here. He's dreamed of playing against Alabama. Okay, that's fine, right? Sure, Alabama's a great program. Hope you're probably at a pretty good program yourself if you're playing against Alabama. This happens to be a pretty good brand-on-brand matchup that we've seen before between Alabama and Florida State. His quote, though, he said, "They don't have Nick Saban to save them. I just don't see them stopping me." Ooh. And then doubled down on it, and now tripled down on it at ACC Media Days. We stand on what I said.
Okay.
That's bold words for someone who was fairly average at Boston College and taking over what was the worst Power 4 team last year.
All right.
One of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you pieced last year's Oklahoma State, Florida State together, I don't know who wins that game. I might take Oklahoma State.
That's a good point. Well, and they had probably been so. The tough part for those guys is that they couldn't, I don't say self-correct, but once they were exposed, like, woof, these guys aren't that good. That the air can't, or maybe the better way to say it is when the air was sort of let out of the tires. Mm-hmm. Like, wow, these guys, that they couldn't really self-correct in a way that's like, hey, we can go win 6 games, fellas. Like they fell apart. And I hate to use the Q word, but they probably had some dudes quit, check out. You know what I mean? Like emotionally check out. And that's never a good sign there. And that's a serious accusation. But you could see where some of those dudes that, especially older guys, were like, oh yeah, we went 13-0 last year. We're not really marked by this mess. Let's get this thing over with.
Well, they had such an interesting start because if you go back to last year, they were the Iowa State-Kansas State game over in Dublin against the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets there, boyo. And it was a great game, and they got this build-up, this interesting story. Georgia Tech is trying to continue their upward trend as a program. Florida State, this is the revenge year for leaving them out, right? And then it was a 24-21 final. And I can't remember if it was a game-winning last-second field goal or if it was just a late field goal for Georgia Tech that put them up. But the defense went out and won them that game. And it was man, what a great first win for Georgia Tech. And man, what a disappointing setback for Florida State. But they'll refocus. And then that same Boston College team beats them the next week, 28-13 in an ugly game. And then they lose to Memphis, 20-12.
Right. And then you're
and the offense was
spiraling.
just horrendous. And then they sneak in that win against California and then just get dismantled by SMU. And that's boy, there's just this might not be a bowl team.
I think about the 1990 Red Raider football team as being similar. Now that was a 4-7 team, not 1 or 2-10. But it was a 2-7 team at one point, and that was coming off a 9-3 with a bowl win the year before. Mm-hmm. And just a lot of names that are familiar 35 years later, but then a lot of those guys were gone, and just the next year got off to a tough start, and it was just this is a slog. And you just kind of find a different way to lose all these games, and suddenly you're 2-7.
Do you remember the Vanderbilt offensive linemen from 5 years ago? After an interview, they'd started off 4-0, and they had Alabama the next week, and they're tell Alabama we play SEC ball too, and then they got beat by 50 points the next week. That is my week 1 prediction for Florida State.
Mercy.
Except the difference is it's not a week-by-week basis. They still have a whole month before they get it on. It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3.
It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3. Presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Yeah, R.I.P. Ozzy Osbourne passed away yesterday. It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by our friends at Happy State Bank. Little bonus Tech Talk today as we go up to 6:30. Rangers and Athletics. The Rangers going for a sweep, Gus, against those homeless A's over there. And then after it, the Athletics, for their trouble, they'll just stay in the state of Texas and start a 4-game set against the Astros. We have certainly laughed about this in the break. I'm going to ask it to you I don't know if you've seen it or not, though, Gus.
Right. It's a major market tease right there.
Have you seen the Browns helmet unveiling? Kyler, have you seen this? You're giving me the face of...
I have not.
At last count, I think 47,000 likes on the one video. I'm sure there's multiple.
Well, we just got a second angle. How can we get a third angle of this? So
everybody with a camera posted quickly.
Yeah, they over in Cleveland on this floating dock, they were unveiling an alternate helmet, and the helmet itself is not bad. There's only so much you can do with their color scheme of here's brown and here's orange, and notably they don't have a logo on the side of the helmet, right? They don't really do anything with the dog pound or anything like that, which, as much as I don't like the Browns and enjoy any ounce of failure they have, I've always liked the dog pound because it's a very rabid fan base over there, right? They're in the thick of it. They're just like the black hole, which is the black hole still a thing with the Raiders move? I mean, my team sees them twice a year, and I don't even know if it's got to be at least different.
Yeah, got to be different. I mean, yeah, it's got to be different, right? At best. At best, it's different, if not completely eliminated. But there's no reason to think that the Las Vegas version wouldn't go, yeah, we've got a place with a black hole right here.
Yeah. Bring all of your spiky shoulder pads right here.
Right. But it's not as organic and just didn't, probably a little more concocted.
Oh, you want to look like WWF's Legion of Doom? You can do that right over here. Right. The Browns unveiled this giant inflated helmet, right? They
it's
pull
like an
off the
alternative
sheet.
Helmet.
Yeah. Alternative helmet, and
hence the unveiling.
Yeah. It's orange again, and a white face mask. Gus, who knew? It's brown, and it's got 2 orange stripes. So, I mean, basically, essentially inverting what's already been done, but it is something different. But with the unveiling, their media guy, and they've got like they've got the mascot up there. They've got some sort of sponsor up there. They've got what I'm assuming is a 99-year-old fan wearing a 99 Browns jersey on there. And the guy capturing this magical moment, again, probably in the social media department, remind you, Floating Dock, is not paying attention to... 1, where the edge of the dock is, or 2, the wire connecting, holding down the inflated helmet, and just disappears into the ocean.
He just takes a step off of this thing. It's like out of a cartoon, man. He's just videoing it with his phone and just takes a step like Bugs Bunny walking off the cliff. Just.
I watched the first one we got was like way away, and it's like the far corner is where it happens, so he just falls out of frame. This most recent one, where it's a close-up on an eye.
Yeah, it's almost like this one, the view you just showed was like from the water. You just see the guy.
There was a boat, just like, oh, this is cool.
That's exactly it. It's like he takes a step off of that platform and just, he just takes a step and just goes. Hopefully he hung onto his phone, I guess, right?
As soon as you brought it up, I had to look it up, and I've been laughing back here nonstop ever since I watched it.
Good news, bad news.
You're famous.
You went viral.
Yeah. People have seen you all over the internet, buddy. There's worse things to be seen all over the internet for.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
What, Kyler?
I was going to say a former UFC fighter's name, but I'll leave him unnamed.
Oh.
You remember when Aroldis Chapman was going all over the internet? What, 2 years ago?
What happened?
I'll just say this. Older lady.
Ooh.
This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Vanderbilt guy. Alabama, you're next. Jalen Hurts. Technically, we are next on their schedule. That's the real quote from him, from Jalen Hurts, before they just took Vanderbilt behind the woodshed, man. I don't get it, man. I don't. As someone who's not a fan of either, certainly not Florida State or Alabama, really. I mean, I don't hate Alabama or anything like that. I have a very... I'll tell you what, it's ramped up my interest in that game because I already thought it was going to be a beatdown from Alabama. I mean, it is week 1, so it's like plenty of things to be excited about because college football is starting. But suddenly, I am way more interested in that game than I was, Gus.
Right. Absolutely, especially coming off the upset last year.
Oh yeah.
That was one of the most talked about games last year, certainly from the early part of the season at least.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of the year, they were, because you could just, it was somebody like a Jimmy Fallon type jokes about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that. Well, even Vanderbilt beat Alabama. Anything can happen. It was all of that kind of stuff. It far exceeded because you had like one of the all-time punching bags beating the top of the heap there.
The Vandy Bama game last year was so interesting because, or at least we were here in studio doing our pregame show and we were like bouncing. I can't remember what the game was that we were bouncing back and forth between, but it did involve that wasn't one of the two. And all of a sudden we started like that game stayed close, and we just kept bouncing back with people on the chat line like Vanderbilt's about to beat Alabama, and then
and that's what you
and then flipping over and watching it the last quarter.
Bama's about to go score, and then get a stop or whatever, and Bama never got the stop. She couldn't stop him. And then that guy sued and got all of his JUCO years taken away and never.
Yeah. This is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3. Clint Scott and Dr. Mike Gustafson, Kyler Brown behind the glass taking care of us. Keep hitting us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. We had this thought from Bullfighter. Said, don't normally root against guys, especially on my team, but this was a long time coming. And he put up the moves today from the Rangers, including activating John Gray from the 60-day IL and also designating Luke Jackson for assignment.
Yeah, so what that means for Jackson, obviously, is an older player and can't be optioned down.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what happens with older players. Now, if nobody were to claim him, then they can send him down to Round Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's just that's sort of the privilege of an older player being able to go. But that's not the headline there. John Gray's the headline,
right?
And yeah, that's interesting. I'm curious if he's if that's right into the rotation or what. But obviously they wouldn't be activating him from this. They wouldn't be activating him without
a plan to use him.
Decent level of prep.
Yeah.
And all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, heck yeah, that's good stuff there. Well, and then you think about that and you go, hey, there's they may not have to go out and spend a bunch of money, or more specifically, not so much money, but a bunch of prospects to help themselves. Since, I mean, there's an acquisition right there, and sometimes that's it. You'll hear that, like, hey, we didn't have to go, we didn't trade anybody. Today we added John Gray.
Yeah. Shelley said this. You seem like a Hufflepuff, Clint. Gus is pure Gryffindor.
I don't know what to say about that.
That's a good thing for you.
You could just nerd out and make me the worst of that movie, and I wouldn't know anything about it or book.
No, I didn't read the book. I would have to go off the movie. Kyler has a play of the day for us.
1 ball, 2 strikes. The pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck him out on a slider. That was an awkward, ugly swing by Shea Langoliers. The 5th punch out for Jacob DeGrom.
Rangers trailing after the leadoff home run by Lawrence Butler. Here's Adolis Garcia.
And he will send that high and deep out to left. Butler on the run. I don't think he's bringing that back. It's gone! El Bombi ties the game.
And Urias is coming up. Check swing, strike 3, he went around. Urias flings the bat away and the helmet as well, as DeGrom, after allowing a leadoff double, strikes out 3 in a row, and he has fanned 8 in the ball game.
The Rangers beat the Athletics 6-2 yesterday, and DeGrom from the mound had 9 strikeouts. I have loved seeing him play this year. And we also had 3 home runs, one from Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, and Adolis Garcia. Great win for the Rangers. Hopefully they get that sweep tonight.
You can hear
Absolutely.
it. Yeah, you can hear it at 6:30. We'll lead you all the way up to it. The Astros currently trying to sweep the Diamondbacks. That game has now moved into the bottom of the 6th. The Astros are up 2-1. That is over on 100.7 the score as well.
And Gray's being, I'm reading about this, Gray's being targeted as a maybe some swing man. Will he immediately jump into the rotation? No. But, if somebody gets in trouble early in a ball game, they can hand you the ball and he can go a little bit. Looks like his last outing in Round Rock 3 2/3 against Vegas, struck out 5, 61 total pitches. So they're probably not handing him the ball and saying, hey, go give us 7 strong innings. But remember the nature of his injury, and I guess this is relatively good. The key thing is he had to totally shut down, but he had a fractured forearm in spring training, get hit by a line drive. And so we're not talking about something that was surgical or they had to reconstruct his elbow or rotator cuff, this and that. But obviously you're not pitching through a broken forearm. So that's just tough luck there. But hopefully as his sharpness returns, he can be a valuable addition to this club. Either he works out of the pen or maybe he does jump into the rotation. Somebody steps out of the rotation into the pen. Either way, the Rangers get another veteran arm.
Yeah. Gus, I saw this today. I thought this was interesting. we've talked a lot about for Texas Tech football, the upsetting, the annoyance for big programs with how much that you've spent in the offseason, and then Felix Ojo hit, and boy, the waves of wah-wah-wahs, boy, they crashed up against the shore again. On3 had an article of some of the commits in Felix Ojo's class, the 2026 recruits in line for monster NIL paydays. Felix Ojo is on that list. You also have Miami 5-star plus offensive tackle commit Jackson Cantwell, who could be making up to $2 million in his first year. And USC 5-star tight end commit Mark Bowman, who could make between $5 to $6.5 million over 3 years. And Tennessee 5-star quarterback Faison Brandon, who could make between $1 to $1.5 million in year one. How about Oregon 5-star plus offensive tackle, whose initial asking price for 1 year would be $1 to $2 million. Georgia 5-star plus quarterback commit Jared Curtis, who's going to make north of $750,000 in year one. Why is no one crying about these other schools?
Oh, yeah. No, I think this
is losing. I'm losing my mind reading this.
Yeah, this goes back to the fundamental, argument, whatever. What's rather obvious about Texas Tech as a disruptor when Ole Miss was out there spending money in the portal, and that's okay because, well, Ole Miss, SEC. This is an interesting day too because there's some components of first of all, a couple of members of Congress have introduced a bill to include student athletes in national labor relations, legal, politic-y, legal stuff. But
that's how I usually talk about
exactly. Well, no, I know
legal, politic, legal.
We all sort of get buried in the thought of this, but it basically.
If I ever had to do a filibuster, I would just repeat those words over and over again.
It would amend the NLRA, National Labor Relations Act, so that it covers private and public universities and would require the NLRB to recognize schools and conferences as multi-employer bargaining units. What does this mean, Clint? Well, to get right to it, the sports side of this, something that has been talked about a little bit, is we need collective bargaining, right? Mm-hmm. They need to be able to. That's really, it's one of the things that Cody has talked about.
Yeah, sure.
The ability to sit down at a bargaining table and give this some guardrails, if you will. Again, this is just a bill that has been introduced, so nothing's, Lord knows they haven't agreed on anything, but it's one of those steps that probably needs to happen before anything's ever really going to get close there.
We also have some collective news we'll get to next. That's a big deal and could be a big plus for the Red Raiders specifically. Speaking of that discussion we just had, I'll bounce back into that list because it's just very, very hypocritical. It is Tech Talk and Double T 97.3.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Hour number 3, it is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. I'm Clint Scott. He's Dr. Mike Gustafson. We're stressing out Kyler Brown behind the glass, who is keeping us on the airwaves and taking care of us as usual. You can call him. You can hear his voice. Well, if he turns on his mic. But also if you call him on the Visual Edge IT hotline, 806-771-0973. You can also hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Thoughts, comments, questions, all of that welcome there. We will go up to 6:30. Rangers Athletics Game 3. Rangers going for the sweep. We are live from the First United Bank studio. And if you want to watch us, you can do so on Fox 34 News Now, YouTube, and Facebook. there in the last hour, we got into a little bit of NIL and specifically University Collective talk. And we got this question. So what's the deal with NIL Collective now? I just got the very end of the last segment. Scott also asked, so there is no cap to NIL. Please explain more. Rob was seemingly saying a soft cap was in play on the end of the bench. So I didn't hear what Rob was saying, but my guess to what he was talking about as a soft cap would be the phrase that's still very much in play of fair market value. And what we talked about with collectives in general, essentially it was originally going to be, and was for 23 days, hey, you can't just pay students anymore or pay student athletes to come to the university through collectives. It can't be pay for play, right? Like, you can't just say, if you come here, here's a $500,000 check. That's the theory of it. And so either universities were having to just disperse these collectives they were associated with or absorb them. And the Matador Club was a great example because they got absorbed by the Red Raider Club, and those collectives could be there. They just couldn't pay students to come there. They could raise money. They could connect the athletes here through other NIL deals, but it couldn't just be like, hey, we're the Gator Collective. If you want to come play for Florida, we'll give you $200,000. That was supposed to go away. And in a lot of ways, that's still supposed to go away. The difference, though, is they said, hey, collectives, you're not a business. You can't pay. You're not a business. That doesn't make any sense. And now, after this, okay, collectives, you're a business. You can pay athletes again. And this is what's so immediately gray area to me, Gus, because the soft cap, again, that I think Rob was probably talking about is the fair market value, where you're not supposed to still be able to just throw these ridiculous numbers under a shady business name. But how do you go fair market value with now a business, the type of business, Gus, that was paying the absolute most in the NIL, right? Like, what's the equation there to say, okay, well, so-and-so collective up in Washington, you can only pay $200,000 as an NIL deal to your star receiver. Like, how do you find out those values the same way that you're going to do, well, this tire shop in Mississippi was given this to this running back, so this mysterious tire shop over in California, you're way overpaying. That's not going to clear the Deloitte clearinghouse. And the other thing, too, by the way, is there's so many, like, back-loaded things going on with the Deloitte clearinghouse right now. Like, a lot of coaches are wondering if some of these athletes are going to get paid on time in these early payments because they've had so many that either have been flagged or are just being processed. And so, as expected, Gus, this is all a mess again.
Yeah, ultimately, there's no way that American citizens, I guess, citizen may be a loaded word, but that here in the USA, you can limit somebody's earnings without the opportunity to collectively bargain or some form of agreement. And when we've spent the better part of the spring and early summer talking about the House settlement and what it was going to look like, and I think what we sort of I think just general fandom that's tired of hearing about this, tired of talking about, we lump it all in as NIL. We want to give JT Toppin $4 million of NIL money, right? Mm-hmm. And then in the House settlement, we sort of separated out revenue sharing. Athletic departments are all going to give the same $22 million of ref share. Texas is going to give $22 million, Texas Tech, Podunk State, whatever. If you don't have football and you don't choose to spend a big chunk of your $22 million on football, maybe the Big East schools are going to run away and hide in basketball, right? Mm-hmm. Big East schools, by the way, hating the news today. And then we had true NIL over here, which means if Lubbock National Bank, First United Bank, if First United Bank wanted to get JT Toppin to do a couple of commercials, they had to pay him a going rate, right? Couldn't pay him $2 million to do that. I don't know what the going rate is, $15,000, right? If they tried to pay him $15 million, Deloitte would say, hey, can't do that, right?
Right.
Well, so and then the collective money was sort of not really in play anymore. The idea of collectives and just what we have been referring to as NIL last year. Nigeria Kennedy gets $1 million of NIL. Well, now that money's sort of back in play, and it's the biggest of the three.
Right.
Or it's the one with no limit.
That's the one that people are big schools and big time programs are making their hay with bringing in people because, Gus, I don't know if you know this, but through the transfer portal and through big time recruits to medium recruits, no one's coming to the university for free.
No.
Because they love the brand and they love the logo or anything, or they love the tradition of that university. We'll be there for free. That's not happening. That's part of what that On3 list we were talking about of some of these big-time athletes getting big paydays. And you can look at some of the top classes coming in through this year, like Texas and Alabama and Georgia and Oregon. None of those dudes are going for free. Ohio State. And so I think they tried to close up a can of worms, and it's just got open back up, it seems like.
This has been the Tech Talk Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.